Welcome to episode 8 of Everything Sports with Aman. I'm your host, Aman Adkarni, and I'm going to talk about the hottest topics in sports over the course of the past week. And now we're going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens firing their head coach, Tiger Woods, Fantasy Minute, NBA news. There's a lot going on in there, and a new candidate to switch teams in NFL free agency or not switch teams to be traded. And without further ado, let's go into talking about NHL for the first time here on this podcast. The Montreal Canadiens firing head coach. They're fourth in the North Division. They have an overall record 9-5. They have like 22 points, four overtime losses, like 22 points in the standings, four overtime losses. They they just look like an average hockey team, not doing well, not doing bad. And I guess because of that, they decided to move on from their head coach, and they clearly wanted to do better. They're 9-6 as of yesterday. They're 9-6, losing to the Winnipeg Jets 6-3, and they don't even look average at that point. After the first period, they had a 2-0 lead. And then the second period, they allowed 3-1. At that point, it was 3-3, and they allowed three goals in the third period to the Winnipeg Jets. And this comes after their firing. So if you're an average team and you still have a head coach, I don't see why you fire a head coach when you're an average team. Claude Julien and assistant coach Kirk Muller. I guess they weren't it for the Canadians just because they slipped to fourth place. And interim head coach Dominique Ducharme. This is a bad look for him, losing to the Winnipeg Jets. They're 12-6 and one overtime loss. And they were right above. They could have gone up to third place, I believe. Yeah, third place. And now they're in danger of actually going down in the rankings. They're at 22 points, and the Flames are 2 points behind them. And they have the same amount of wins. The Canadians have just played less games, which is why they're ranked higher. So, honestly, I didn't get the firing if they slip to fourth. That'll happen in sports. You're not always going to stay at the top. When a head coach comes and replaces an average team, it's kind of hard to be that new coach to repair that team when they're kind of average. They're not good, they're not bad, they're just middle of the pack. And this loss to Winnipeg Jets, by the looks of it, I don't know why you would fire a head coach. Anyways, I could be wrong. To be honest, I don't watch much hockey compared to other sports, but coming from me, four overtime losses with that coach, 9-5 overall. This is not a good start for their new head coach. We'll leave it at that. And unfortunate news with Tiger Woods earlier in the week. He met with the car crash, just single car crash. Luckily, he was okay. He suffered two compound fractures in his leg and shattered ankles. Like, we're talking about just a great person, great personality, one of the best and influential athletes ever, one of the best golfers ever. Like, there's so many accolades that go with Tiger Woods. It's not even funny. He is just the best golfer of all time, and I can say that with confidence. If you guys can tell me in the comments who do you think the best golfer is, then I'll be happy to see your responses. And initial reaction, I was just doing my homework for school, and then boom, Tiger Woods news. I didn't know what to think because I'm like, are we gonna lose another great? Like, we lost Kobe Bryant, and not far from a year after Kobe died, we're gonna lose Tiger Woods because they said they used the jaws of life to get him out. Luckily, it wasn't that. Luckily, it wasn't the jaws of life because That when you use like a hydraulic tool to get the passenger out. Luckily, it wasn't that. He had emergency surgery short after, and he was just transported to a different hospital on Wednesday, this past Wednesday. Great stuff for Tiger Woods, man. I just wanted to stick in the Tiger Woods segment to show him the praise and that we're all praying for him. And sadly, I don't think he plays golf again with these injuries. He's dealt with so much adversity over the past years, and he was finally coming back when the Masters a couple years ago, or like 1 year ago, I think. He was coming back, and it's just unfortunate that he has to deal with this because he certainly doesn't deserve it. But there's a reason for everything, I guess. It wasn't like any car accident where like he was under the influence of alcohol or anything, because yes, it's Tiger Woods, but I'd feel less sympathy for him. But this was just a normal accident without any drugs, without anything. And it's just unfortunate to see him go through this, especially when he's coming back through so much adversity, so many injuries, just so much stuff that happens in his life. He was finally coming back and like resurging. It's like a resurgence of Tiger Woods over the course of the past year, is what it looked like. It's sad to see, but glad he's okay, recovering. I would like to see him play golf again, but personally, I don't think it'll happen. And with that, we will go to Fantasy Minute, where I talk about the 5 players you should add on your team if they're available in your league. And without further ado, let's get it started. So now we got Saban Lee, point guard from Detroit. They traded for Dennis Smith Jr., who played 15 minutes, and then the Saban Lee guy coming out of nowhere, point guard, Detroit. Pick him up because he's seen minutes, like legit minutes from Detroit. He is 1% roster. That's because I didn't even know who he was until I did my research for this episode. But Jakob Pertl, center, San Antonio. He's 44% rostered. He's been doing pretty well for San Antonio this season. Jayshawn Tate, shooting guard in Houston. I didn't know who he was before the season, but he rebounds well. Even when I see the Rockets, every time I see him, 27% rostered. Jake Crowder, small forward, power forward, Phoenix. If you need scoring, maybe a little bit of rebounding and defending here and there, you got him, 42% roster. Dorian Finney-Smith, small forward, power forward, Dallas, 10% rostered. He gives you a little bit of everything as small forward and power forward, playing for the Dallas Mavericks. And with that, that was exactly a minute. Let's go. Fantasy Minute. All right, so now with that, we're just talking about basketball and basketball players. There's a lot of NBA news we have to get to, and the first one being the Lakers struggling without Anthony Davis. LeBron James, I feel like we're on the tail end of his career, and yes, before you guys flood the comments, I know that he's averaging amazing numbers for a guy at his age. I believe he's 36 years old. But now without Anthony Davis is one less person that can create their own shot. And Schroeder has been banged up. LeBron James needs to start carrying them and carrying the Lakers like he did with the Cavaliers when he played there for, I believe, 3 seasons, 2014, 2015, 15 to 16. Actually, no, 4 seasons he was there. So he carried the Cavaliers, so now he has to carry the Lakers. I'm pretty sure this season is showing you it's Anthony Davis carrying the Lakers, even though he's not averaging Anthony Davis like numbers that we're used to seeing. LeBron, let's see, man. Don't think he can do it for the Lakers. I say the Lakers get dethroned this season and Joel Embiid. And the 76ers are my pick to win the NBA Finals. You heard it here on February 26th, 2021. Me, Aman Carney, says the Philadelphia 76ers will win the NBA championship. And now we see the Utah Jazz. I hear so many people saying they're not for real. How can you not be for real with their record and their hot streak? And The Utah Jazz are obviously currently first in the West. They're 26-6. Their last 10, they're 9-1. I saw somewhere that like they lost two out of the last 24 or 25 games. Some insane number. Utah Jazz are like laps ahead of the next team. The Clippers are 4 games behind. The Lakers are slipping. They're the same record as the four-seeded Suns. So they have to figure it out. That was some NBA news. Now, news we got today, like probably an hour before my podcast, before I started recording. Kevin Durant's going to be out for the All Star game. That is big news because he was captain. We're probably going to see Giannis and LeBron choosing teams again. So that means Jason Tatum got elevated to an All Star starter, and Domantas Sabonis being an All Star. I don't know how he wasn't an All Star first, and I already said my thoughts on weekend, or not weekend wrap up, the NBA All Star reserves. I have a lot to say about that. And Sabonis deserved to be an All Star. Trae Young, I was kind of shocked not to see him in there, but Sabonis, he was averaging pretty much the same numbers as last year, and he got an All Star last year, but not this year, which doesn't make any sense. And the person who I feel snubbed the most was Devin Booker before he got in because Anthony Davis is not going to play. He should have been an All-Star. I don't know how or why Chris Paul. What has Chris Paul done this season to deserve to be an All-Star? And yes, it's an achievement. And then I look at Zion Williamson. He is young, and many people called him amazing after last season. He barely played any games, which is why he's averaging what he's averaging. This year, I get it. He's playing amazing. He probably deserves to be an All Star now that I think about it. But last season, everyone was saying he was the rookie of the year. How was he the rookie of the year? Like, clearly, John Moran. I would argue Eric Pascal did better than him. And I don't know, barely played games. He was out with a torn meniscus or something like that. And then didn't do well in the bubble or something like that. I don't know why he was already so overhyped after last season and the Pelicans falling incredibly short. And Kevin Durant being out for the All Star game, obviously that'll mean Giannis or Giannis for the Eastern Conference. Gonna get Giannis and LeBron as All Star captains again in Atlanta on March 7th. Still don't think they should hold this All Star business clearly for the money. And now to end off the episode, we're gonna go to NFL free agency slash NFL news. We're hearing that JJ Watt's deal could potentially be worth up to 15 to 16 million dollars. JJ Watt's got a lot of juice left in him. I've said that when we first started talking about him. He has a lot in the tank. I personally believe if any team needs a defensive lineman, then JJ Watt is your guy. So that's JJ Watt on his teammates. Well, JJ Watt's a free agency. Ex teammate Deshaun Watson. He has told their new head coach, David Culley, I believe, he has no interest in playing for the Houston Texans. So the excuse he made of, I wouldn't have accepted this job if I didn't know Deshaun Watson was going to play. That was just an excuse. Like, it's a head coaching position. It's more money than you would have earned. Deshaun Watson was never going to play in the Houston Texans as much as they deflected it. And this just makes him disgruntled, and you'll get less value for him than you should have gotten. And don't pull what the basketball Houston team did with James Harden when you could have gotten Ben Simmons or Jalen Brown or Marcus Smart. They wanted Brown and Smart. You could have done that. But then you end up with Victor Oladipo. Why? So you wait, your stars get disgruntled, make fun of your team, and then you trade them because it's just bad in the locker room and everything. That's what causes their value to go down. So before Deshaun Watson's value diminishes more, the Houston Texans have to find an offer and have to find a way to ship him out of Houston because that's what he deserves. He can't waste his career in Houston because there's no signs in Houston that shows that they're gonna win a Super Bowl anytime soon. And Deshaun Watson being really young and really good already, get him to a contender or something. Just at least do that. Do something to save his career. I honestly want to see him and JJ Watt win a ring. Especially JJ Watt. He's done so much. I just like the guy. He's such a great person, great athlete, which is why I want him to win a Super Bowl ring before he retires. And now I said a player going into the mix, Russell Wilson. He hasn't requested a trade, but the teams he would accept one: the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Dolphins, I believe. I'd say not the Cowboys, not the Raiders, not the Dolphins, not Dolphins, the Bears. So not the Bears, not the Raiders, and not the Cowboys. New Orleans Saints. I honestly don't know if they have enough to trade for Russell Wilson, but hey, I mean, if you have enough for him, then by all means go and get yourself Russell Wilson because that's your chance to go to the Super Bowl without drafting a QB and rebuilding with Drew Brees probably going to retire. I probably predict and say that Russell Wilson will still be a Seahawk. I can't even imagine him on another team because of what he did for that organization and what he's done for Seattle as a city. Not even just the organization, as a city, he's done so much for them. Um, he's done so much for them, and I can't envision him playing in another city. And let's see who wins the JJ Watt sweepstakes. Him and TJ Watt have just been clowning social media and all the reporters on Twitter. It's pretty funny. So who knows by episode 9 or weekend wrap up, JJ Watt could sign somewhere or Deshaun Watson could be shipped out of Houston. So let's see what happens with that. Thanks for tuning in to episode 8. Tune in this upcoming Monday for weekend wrap up or the normal podcast next week for episode 9.